Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Jack who lived in a small village with his parents. Jack was a bright and curious child, and he was always eager to explore and learn new things. One day, Jack's parents told him that he was to stay away from the old forest that was near their village. They warned him that the forest was a dangerous place, full of wild animals and unknown dangers. But Jack was too curious to listen to his parents' warnings. He decided to go explore the old forest anyway. Jack ventured into the forest, and he soon found himself in unfamiliar territory. He came across a giant tree with a strange-looking door in its trunk. He opened the door and stepped inside, only to find himself in a magical world full of wondrous creatures. Jack was amazed by the beauty of the place, and he soon forgot all about his parents' warnings. He wandered around, exploring and admiring the sights, until he suddenly heard a loud roar. It was a giant dragon, and it was coming straight for him. Jack was terrified and he started to run away, but he was not fast enough. The dragon caught up to him and was about to devour him when an old man appeared out of nowhere. The old man shouted at the dragon and waved his staff at it, causing the dragon to flee in terror. The old man then turned to Jack and said, "You should always listen to what your elders tell you. They know what is best for you." Jack thanked the old man for saving his life and promised to always listen to his parents from then on. Jack returned home safely, and he never disobeyed his parents again. The moral of the story is that we should always listen to what our elders say and not defy them. They have our best interests at heart, and their advice can often help us avoid danger. Once upon a time, there lived a young man named John. He had always been a hard-working and honest person, but he was never able to make enough money to buy the things he wanted. One day, John was walking down the street and he saw an old man selling a beautiful golden watch. John had always dreamed of owning a watch like this, but he knew he could never afford it. The old man saw the look of longing in John's eyes and said, "I will give you this watch if you do one thing for me." John was excited and asked what he had to do. The old man said, "I want you to use this watch to do something good for someone else." John agreed and took the watch home. He was so excited to show it off to his friends. But instead of showing it off, he decided to use it to help others. He gave the watch to a young boy who was struggling to get to school on time. The boy was so grateful for the watch that he promised to use it to make sure he was never late. Again, John was so proud of himself for using the watch to help someone else. He realized that possessions are only as important as what they are used for. John went on to use the watch to help others in need, and he was always sure to use it for good. He taught others that possessions are only as important as what they are used for. The moral of this story is that a possession is as important as what it's used for. It's not enough to just have something. It's what you do with it that matters. Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful woman named Rose. She lived a simple life in a small village near the edge of a vast forest. She was content with her life, but she had always felt something was missing. One day, while walking through the forest, Rose stumbled upon a giant. He was tall and strong, with a kind face and gentle eyes. Rose was immediately taken with him and she felt a deep connection to him. The giant noticed Rose and they began to talk. He told her of his life in the forest, of the creatures he encountered and the stories he heard. Rose was entranced by his stories and she felt an intense love for him. The giant asked Rose to stay with him in the forest and she agreed. For months, Rose and the giant lived in the forest, exploring and discovering new things together. But one day, the giant's health began to fail. He became weaker and weaker, and Rose could do nothing to help him. She stayed by his side until the end, but it was too late. The giant died, leaving Rose alone and heartbroken. Rose was devastated by the loss of her beloved giant. She never recovered from the pain of losing him, and she never found another love like the one she had with the giant. Rose's love for the giant was pure and true, and it never ended well. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a wise old man. He was known for his wise words and advice. One day, a young man from the village came to him seeking advice. He told the old man that he was having trouble understanding the world around him. He said that he had heard so many stories and opinions from different people, but he was still confused about what was right and wrong. The wise old man smiled and said, "My son, the best way to understand the world is to be more observant. Talk less and listen more. This will make you wise." The young man thanked the old man for his advice and went away. He started to pay more attention to the world around him. He listened to people more carefully and observed the world closely. He soon realized that he was gaining a better understanding of the world. The young man was happy that he had taken the old man's advice. He now knew that wisdom comes from being observant and listening more than talking. He was also grateful for the old man's wise words. Moral: be more observant. Talk less and listen more. This will make us wise. Once upon a time there lived a young man named John who was very ambitious and wanted to succeed in life. He was determined to make it big and was willing to do whatever it took to get ahead. One day, John was presented with a great opportunity to take a test that would give him the chance to get into a prestigious college. He was excited, but also scared because he knew that he would have to work hard to pass the test. John decided to take a shortcut and cheat on the test. He copied answers from the person sitting next to him and managed to get a good score. He was delighted and thought he had gotten away with it. However, John soon found out that his cheating had been discovered. He was disqualified from the test and all his hard work was for nothing. He had to face the consequences of his actions and was expelled from the college. John soon realized that cheating will not get you anything in life and that if you do cheat, you will pay the price sooner or later. He learned his lesson and vowed to never cheat again. The moral of the story is that cheating will not get you anything. If you cheat, you'll pay soon enough. Once upon a time, there was a farmer who lived in a small village. He was a hard-working man and had been working his land for many years. One day, he was walking through his fields when he noticed something strange. There were a lot of eggs in one of his chicken coops. He counted them and was amazed to find that there were hundreds of eggs. He was so excited that he immediately went to the village to tell everyone about his good fortune. He boasted about how he was going to become rich from selling all of the eggs. Everyone was amazed and congratulated him on his luck. The farmer went back to his farm and continued to tend to his chickens. As the weeks went by, he kept counting the eggs, getting more and more excited with each passing day. Finally, the day came when the eggs were ready to be sold. The farmer loaded up his wagon and set off to the market. He was sure that he was going to make a fortune. But when he got to the market, he was disappointed to find out that none of the eggs were fertile. All of his dreams of becoming rich had been dashed. The farmer was so upset that he vowed never to count his chickens before they hatched again. He went back to his farm and started working hard again, never forgetting the lesson he had learned. Moral of the story: don't count your chickens before they hatch. Once upon a time, there was a monkey who lived in the jungle. He was a friendly and curious creature, always looking to explore and make new friends. One day, while the monkey was out exploring, he came across a small bird. The bird was quite timid and scared, so the monkey tried to be friendly and said hello. The bird was so scared that it flew away. The monkey was sad that the bird didn't want to be his friend. But he kept exploring and eventually came across a lion. The lion was quite intimidating, but the monkey was brave and said hello. Surprisingly, the lion was friendly and said hello back. The monkey and the lion became friends, and the monkey learned that even though people come in different shapes and sizes, it doesn't mean that they can't be friends. The moral of the story is that friends come in all shapes and sizes, and it is important to be open to making friends with anyone, no matter how different they may seem. Once upon a time, there was a farmer named Tom who lived in a small village. Tom was a hard-working and honest man, but he was also very poor. One day, he stumbled upon a large patch of land that was full of gold. He was overjoyed and quickly started to dig and mine the gold. Tom became obsessed with the gold and started to spend more and more time digging and mining. He stopped tending to his farm and neglected his family. Soon, the gold started to take over his life and he became increasingly greedy. One day, Tom decided to take a break from mining and take a walk in the forest. As he was walking, he heard a loud roar and saw a large bear charging towards him. Tom was so scared that he ran back to his village as fast as he could. When he arrived, he saw that the village was in ruins and his family was nowhere to be found. Tom quickly realized that his greed had caused the destruction of his village and the loss of his family. Tom was filled with regret and sorrow. He learned a valuable lesson that day: greed will always lead to downfall. Once upon a time, there was a young girl named Jane who lived in a small village. She was a very kind and generous person, always willing to help out her neighbors and do what she could to make the world a better place. One day, while walking through the village, Jane noticed an old man struggling to cross the street. Without hesitation, she rushed to his side and helped him across. The old man was so thankful for Jane's kindness that he wanted to reward her in some way. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small pouch, which he handed to Jane. Inside the pouch was a beautiful, shining gold coin. Jane was so surprised and grateful for the old man's generosity. She thanked him profusely and promised to use the coin to help others in need. The old man smiled and told her that it was her kindness that had earned her the reward. He said that it was important to always be kind, as it will always be rewarded. Jane never forgot this lesson and continued to be kind to everyone she met. As a result, she was always rewarded with small acts of kindness from strangers and friends alike. The moral of this story is that it's important to be kind, as it will always be rewarded. Kindness is a powerful thing, and it's something that can never be taken away. Once upon a time, there was a village by the sea. It was a small village. But the people were very proud of the beautiful coastline and the abundance of fish they could catch in the sea. One day, a strange man appeared in the village. He was dressed in fine clothes and had a large bag of coins. He told the villagers that he was a great fisherman and could catch more fish than any of them. He boasted that he could catch so many fish that the village would never be hungry again. From then on, the villagers always looked for deeds rather than words when judging someone. They learned that it was better to trust in actions rather than empty promises. The villagers were skeptical, but they decided to give the man a chance. They agreed to let him try and promised to reward him if he could catch enough fish to feed the village. The man went out to sea and spent the entire day fishing. When he returned, he had a huge catch of fish. The villagers were amazed and rewarded him for his efforts. But the man was not satisfied. He wanted more. He asked for a bigger reward and promised to catch even more fish the next day. The villagers were wary, but they agreed to give him a bigger reward if he could catch more fish. The man went out the next day and returned with an even bigger catch of fish. The villagers were amazed and rewarded him again. The man continued to come back with bigger and bigger catches of fish. But he always asked for more money. The villagers began to get suspicious and wondered if he was really as good a fisherman as he claimed. One day, a wise old man in the village suggested that they test the man. He suggested that they give him a net with a hole in it and see if he could still catch fish. The villagers agreed and gave the man the net. The man went out to sea and returned with a large catch of fish. The villagers were amazed and rewarded him again. The wise old man smiled and said, "It's the deeds that count, not the boasting words." The villagers realized that the man had been honest and hardworking, and they rewarded him for his efforts. Once upon a time, there was a young man named John. He was always very impulsive and never thought things through before he acted. One day, John was walking through the woods and he stumbled upon a giant chest. He was so excited that he immediately opened the chest, without thinking of the consequences. Inside the chest was a genie who granted 3 wishes. John was ecstatic and immediately wished for $1 million. The genie granted his wish and $1 million appeared in front of him. John was so happy he immediately wished for a castle. Again, the genie granted his wish and a beautiful castle appeared. John was so excited he immediately wished for the most beautiful woman in the world to be his wife. The genie granted his wish and a beautiful woman appeared. John was so happy he immediately hugged the woman. To his surprise, the woman was made of stone. John had made a mistake by not thinking before he acted. He had wasted 2 of his 3 wishes and was now stuck with a statue as a wife. John learned his lesson and vowed to never act before he thought again. He went on to live a long and happy life, always making sure to think before he acted. The moral of the story is never act before you think. This is a story about 2 brothers, Jack and John. Jack was the older brother and was always jealous of John's easygoing nature. John had a natural talent for making friends and seemed to have an effortless way of getting what he wanted. Jack, on the other hand, had to work hard for everything he had. One day, Jack and John were walking in the park when they came across a wishing well. John, being the optimist that he was, decided to make a wish. He threw a coin into the well and wished for something special. Jack, being the cynic that he was, scoffed at his brother's wish. The next day, Jack was shocked to find out that John had gotten a new bike out of nowhere. He was convinced that his brother's wish had come true. Jack was filled with envy and wished he could have what his brother had. John noticed his brother's sadness and explained that he had gotten the bike from a generous neighbor. He told Jack that he should never despise what he can't have, because nothing comes easy. This story teaches us that we should never be jealous of what others have, because we don't know the effort that went into getting it. We should also remember that nothing comes easy in life, and that hard work is often the only way to achieve our goals. Once upon a time, in a small town, there lived a young man named Jim. Jim was not particularly attractive. He was tall and lanky with a long, crooked nose, and he had a tendency to dress in rather drab clothing. Despite his appearance, Jim was a kind and generous man. He was always helping out his neighbors, lending a hand with yard work or running errands. He was also a very intelligent man, with a knack for understanding complex problems and finding solutions. One day, Jim noticed a beautiful woman walking down the street. She was dressed in the latest fashions, had perfect hair and skin, and was carrying a large bag. He was instantly smitten. Jim decided to approach her and introduce himself. To his surprise, she was very friendly and eager to chat. As they talked, Jim discovered that she was an internationally renowned scientist who was in town to give a lecture on her research. Jim was amazed. He had never expected that someone so beautiful could also be so intelligent. He was even more surprised when she asked him to accompany her to the lecture. Jim was delighted to accept her invitation, and they had a wonderful evening. After the lecture, they talked for hours about her research and his ideas. Jim was amazed at how intelligent and insightful she was. At the end of the evening, Jim realized that he had judged the woman by her appearance. He had assumed that because she was beautiful, she was not intelligent. He learned that it was wrong to judge someone by the way they look, and that everyone has something special to offer. The moral of the story is that you should never judge anyone by the way they look. Everyone has something special to offer, and you never know what you might find if you take the time to get to know someone. Once upon a time, there was a young boy who lived in a small village near the forest. He was known for his love of pranks and his mischievous nature. One day, he decided to play a prank on the villagers. He ran through the village shouting, "Wolf! Wolf!" The villagers, thinking there was an actual wolf, came running to his aid. But when they arrived, they found the boy laughing at them. The villagers were not amused and warned the boy not to play such pranks again. But the boy did not heed their warnings and continued to shout, "Wolf!" whenever he felt like it. One day, however, the boy actually saw a wolf in the forest. He ran back to the village, shouting, "Wolf! Wolf!" But this time, the villagers refused to believe him. They thought he was just playing another prank and refused to come to his aid. The wolf attacked the boy and he was badly injured. The villagers, feeling guilty for not believing him, rushed to his aid. They managed to drive the wolf away and save the boy. From that day on, the boy learned his lesson and never cried, "Wolf!" again. He also learned to be more responsible and to think twice before playing pranks. The villagers also learned their lesson, and from then on, they always believed the boy whenever he said there was a wolf. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful princess who lived in a grand castle. She had everything she could ever want, but she was very unkind to her servants. She was always demanding and treating them poorly, never showing them any appreciation. One day, a mysterious stranger came to the castle and offered the princess a magical gift. He told her that if she accepted it, she would be granted 3 wishes. The princess was thrilled and accepted the gift. The first wish the princess made was to be the most powerful person in the kingdom. Her wish was granted, and she became the most powerful person in the land. The second wish the princess made was for all of her servants to be loyal to her forever. Again, her wish was granted, and her servants were now loyal to her for life. The third and final wish the princess made was for all of her enemies to be destroyed. Once again, her wish was granted, and her enemies were no more. At first, the princess was happy with her wishes and the power she had gained. But soon enough, she began to realize that her servants were no longer free to leave her service. They were bound to her forever, and she had become a cruel and oppressive ruler. The people of the kingdom began to resent her, and soon a rebellion was formed. The princess was overthrown and banished from the kingdom, never to be seen again. The moral of the story is that power and wealth can corrupt, and those who mistreat others will not end well. Once upon a time there was a young girl named Abigail who lived in a small village in the countryside. She lived with her parents in a small, run-down house and her family was very poor. Abigail had to work hard to help her parents make ends meet and she often dreamed of a better life. One day, Abigail's father received a letter from a distant relative. The relative had recently passed away and left his entire fortune to Abigail. Abigail was shocked and amazed at the news. With the money, she and her family were able to move into a much nicer home and Abigail was able to pursue her dreams of becoming a doctor. Abigail was so grateful for her unexpected fortune and she used it to help her family and the people in her village. She opened a clinic in the village and provided free medical care to those who needed it. Abigail's generosity and kindness earned her the admiration of the entire village. Abigail's story is an inspiring tale of how a person can turn their fortunes around with a bit of luck and hard work. Her story is a reminder that anything is possible if you put your mind to it and never give up. The Monkey and the Rabbit. Once upon a time, there was a monkey who lived in a tree in a forest one day. The monkey was feeling very lonely, so he decided to go for a walk. As he was walking, he came across a rabbit. The rabbit was very friendly, and the monkey was excited to have a new friend. The monkey and the rabbit talked for a while and then decided to go for a walk together. As they were walking, they came across a river. The monkey wanted to cross the river, but he was afraid of the water. The rabbit, however, was a very good swimmer and offered to help the monkey across. The monkey was very grateful and hopped onto the rabbit's back. The rabbit swam across the river and the monkey was safe on the other side. The monkey thanked the rabbit for his help and they went their separate ways. The Elephant and the Mouse. Once upon a time, there was an elephant who lived in a jungle. One day, the elephant was walking through the jungle when he came across a tiny mouse. The mouse was very scared and ran away from the elephant. The elephant, feeling sorry for the mouse, decided to follow him. The mouse eventually stopped and looked at the elephant, wondering why he was being followed. The elephant explained that he just wanted to be friends. The mouse was very surprised and accepted the elephant's offer of friendship. The two became very good friends and spent a lot of time together. The elephant would carry the mouse on his back and take him around the jungle, showing him all the interesting sights. The mouse would tell the elephant stories about his adventures and the elephant would laugh with joy. They were the best of friends and were never apart. Once upon a time, there were two friends named Jack and Sam. They had been best friends since childhood and were always there for each other. One day, Jack was in trouble and he was scared. He had gotten himself into a difficult situation and he didn't know how to get out of it. He was afraid to tell anyone, so he decided to keep it to himself. But Sam, being the true friend he was, sensed something was wrong and asked Jack what was wrong. Jack was hesitant at first, but eventually opened up to Sam and told him about his problem. Sam listened patiently and then offered to help Jack in any way he could. He stood by Jack's side and supported him through the whole ordeal. Jack was so thankful to have such a loyal and supportive friend. He knew he could always count on Sam to be there for him no matter what. The moral of this story is that a true friend will always support and stand by you in any situation. No matter how difficult the situation may be, a true friend will always be there for you. Once upon a time there was a young boy named Jack who wanted to be an astronaut when he grew up. He was fascinated by the stars and dreamed of one day exploring them. Jack was determined to make his dream come true and worked hard at school, studying all the subjects he needed to become an astronaut. He also read books about space and astronomy, and spent hours looking up at the stars. Jack's hard work and dedication paid off, and after graduating high school, he was accepted into a prestigious space academy. He worked even harder at the academy, and after 4 years of hard work and perseverance, he graduated at the top of his class. The day after graduation, Jack was offered a job as an astronaut with a major space exploration company. He was overjoyed and accepted the offer. Jack's story is a testament to the power of hard work and perseverance. No matter how big the dream, if you work hard and never give up, you can achieve it.